would be interviewed by a student instead of doing a typical speech. And we thought that was a great idea. And we were thinking about who could really engage in a conversation around identity, awareness, diversity, who could really offer some hard-hitting questions. Mr. McKee and I could not think of anyone better than our 2018 VSSA Social Justice, Ethics, and Leadership Award winner, Kristen Lee. Please welcome Kristen to the stage.
Oh my god, this is scary. Hi. My voice sounds really bad because I suddenly got sick, but I tried really hard to not have a rough voice by drinking a lot of tea, but mind my coughing if I ever do that. Okay, so I would like to welcome to the stage someone who is at the forefront of the Asian American movement for representation in the media, who appears in prominent movies and TV shows like The Hangover, Crazy Rich Asians, Community, Fresh Off the Boat, and his very own show, Dr. Ken. He is recently one of the judges of the hit show, The Masked Singer, and released this Netflix special where he talked about his fans to talk about his rise to fame and the impact his wife has had on him. Someone who I admire a lot, and also bolsters Asian narratives behind the scenes as a producer and funder for movies like K-Town K-Boys and my personal favorite movie, Soul Searching. Someone who's been everywhere and a large influence on this movement, Dr. Ken Jeong.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be tweeting like a lot during my interview, so I just got a lot of stuff to take care of, so I'm not going to be rude. So I'm just going to look at my phone the whole time. Yeah. Yep, diversity on my Twitter. Viewpoint won't allow social media. Okay. What kind of school is this? They won't allow me to tweet on their Wi-Fi. I'm a celebrity. Okay. Whatever. Let's just do the talk.
Sorry about that.
It's fine. I'll talk to Nikki about it. Anyway.
I first wanted to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come
Very
here.
busy.
Flying in from Atlanta.
You're welcome, Viewpoint.
Jet lagged and...
Jet lag. Got up at the crack of noon yesterday, all right? So busy.
We are immensely grateful for this opportunity to hear your thoughts.
I should have applause from everybody here. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Not mandatory. Thank you.
So let's just get into it, because you're starting a little bit late.
That's how I roll, all right? I just show up when I want to show up. So, yeah.
Like a cool guy. So like I said before, you've been everywhere, even as a voice actor of BoJack Horseman, The Simpsons. Your presence takes over a lot of different genres of film and TV shows, and I was wondering, among these many projects, large or small, which personally are you most proud of?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I think out of everything I'm most proud of, honestly, is Dr. Ken. That's a show that I created, and it was on ABC for 2 years, and I was also a writer on the show, and I used to be a physician, and it's kind of based on my own family life, and it was just nice to have that kind of representation on screen. It wasn't showing diversity for diversity's sake. It was really more to kind of normalize my own life, you know. I have an Asian family, so I just showed that. I also have, I have African American friends, I have Caucasian friends, and to me, it really kind of showed, it was more, I don't think about it as diverse as much as like it was very inclusionary, and that to me was, I really loved the universe that I helped create on that show, and it was just a lot of fun. So to be able to, just in anything you do, you don't have to be in show business, but if you're able to create something, whether through your studies or through your art, and to create some universe that reflects you and is that kind of a mirror of you, even if it's just for a nanosecond, even if no one sees it, the older I get, it's very fulfilling. And so I encourage everybody here just to, in whatever field you do, academically or artistically or both or athletically, to try to create your own tone and universe. And I think that really is, to me, the take-home point of Dr. Ken. So.
Yeah, and I really liked it because you.
And I made a lot of money. It's so great.
Making bank, but yeah. I also.
That's
really
why I get up at noon, yo.
I liked it because it was a sitcom, and you don't really see many like Asian American sitcoms, so I thought that was really special as well.
Thank you very much. And and by the way, shout out to my kids who don't want to be seen right now, Alexa and Zoe. They don't have to yell, they don't have to clap. Just gotta give them a mandatory shout out. They'll be like killing me right now for that. Okay.
For my second question, I was wondering what comedy is to you, and how has it impacted the way you view the world?
I think comedy I've always, even as a kid, when I did not do theater in high school, but I was very much on I was just trying to get into a good school. I grew up in North Carolina, and I eventually went to Duke University. So for me, I was just trying to get into a good school, and so for me, comedy, even as a kid, I just loved watching like SNL as a kid, and I would love watching David Letterman, who is no longer on, he's retired now, but those were kind of, I always loved comedy. Eddie Murphy, I always loved like a lot of comedy. It was just a way for me to kind of escape, from the stresses of daily studying. So, and I think I did not know I would be doing this as a career. So in many ways, I view my whole career in entertainment as this one, happy accident. I did not think that I would ever, in a million years, be performing and ever being known. So you just kind of you never know where life takes you. And it was really only at Duke where I decided, to maybe go into acting, maybe, but I was on the pre-med track. I have a very complicated kind of life, but I just followed my own instinct. I have great support, and to this day, my wife is incredibly supportive of the career choices I made. She's also a doctor who helped me transition from academics to comedy, and also my kids, they also know that Dad he tries to be a normal dad with an odd job. So I have a lot of support with my family that really has helped me kind of do this for a living.
Yeah, as a high school student, a lot of people expect you to figure out an end goal to build your future around, in terms of having certain activities to prepare for the med track or something like that. Whereas for me, I feel like I'm both artistic and political, and I'm interested in many different fields and interests, and balancing that is actually really confusing and hard sometimes because I don't know if I'm doing too much or too little. And so when you were in high school, were you just going down that med track and you didn't think about acting or comedy, or was that ever something that was in the back of your head?
Yeah, no, when I was in high school, I was really just going down, I was pretty insecure where I just wanted to, my whole goal was to try to get good grades to get into a good school. So I think I was a bit more, but I also played piano, I also played violin, horribly, but I also tried to do other things musically. And it was actually at the end of high school, I'd already gotten into Duke, and I grew up in North Carolina, and they had this mock male beauty pageant, only for dudes. And I was a student council, and I was one of the contestants, and we had a swimsuit competition, and I made everybody laugh, and I got a standing ovation. I remember in high school, and then I played piano and I sang this really sensitive love song that no one knew. I didn't even know I could sing, and I remember I had my own moments in high school where it was almost like these hidden talents that I did not even know that I had as a kid, and that kind of informed me for college. So for me, it was at the tail end of high school. You just never know where life leads you, and I it's funny, I think about those moments in high school at the, these unexpected moments that kind of have informed the rest of my life. So I just say, at this point in time, it's great to have, I have a PhD friend of mine who also does stand-up comedy, and he always told me, who's kind of my mentor, have one academic love and try to have one artistic or athletic love. I think you can blend both, and both can feed each other. I think the individual will know if they're doing too much or too little, depending on everyone's unique. So that individual will know. Trust yourself to know what the balance is.
Yeah, and your journey is also inspiring because it lets people know that in their life they don't have to just choose one thing, and that there's enough time for them to explore different aspects and have multiple jobs. First being a doctor and then being an actor.
I know people. It is important to prioritize and to and to focus as much of your energy on one thing as possible in order to do what you love and to have a career. But it's okay. It's like today's Diversity Day, and it's not just diversity for race, it's also diversity of love and interest. It's okay to love more than one thing, and you can, and in life you can prioritize different things ahead of it. It depends on where you are in life. So don't be confused if you find yourself being interested in so many things. Just I advise people just to prioritize what they want at that particular point in time.
Yeah, when I was doing some research on you, I saw that while you were studying to be a doctor at UNC Chapel Hill School of Medicine, you were also doing stand-up gigs here and there and exploring that area. And I was wondering if you felt any doubts and insecurities about developing your stand-up career and pursuing that, and if any of it was because you're Asian American, and if that's related.
Right. I think just in general, I think it's kind of healthy to have doubts, and it's healthy to be insecure. Even now, I'm like, when you're in entertainment, it's either feast or famine, and I'm always wondering, okay, where's my next job coming? There's always that healthy fear that in a way is very grounding. I'm just a person with an odd job that's like an independent contractor, so I'm always, okay, what am I doing next, and where can I go next? And it's the challenge for me is to always remind myself, make that a positive thing. And when it comes to being an Asian American in entertainment, and also I think to have a movie like Crazy Rich Asians that really just did a lot for Asian Americans in entertainment, it was very important for me to be a part of that movie. And I remember Dr. Ken had just gotten canceled, and I was pretty depressed and devastated, and I didn't know where my next job was, and I got an offer to do Crazy Rich Asians, and I had the presence of mind to go. I'd read the book, and my wife and I are huge fans of the book. I was like, you know what, even though I'm really down right now, I'll just do this movie. And I have really a tiny part in that movie, and I did it for, I did it out of passion. I did it, not to get into the show business of it all, but I basically did the movie as a favor, and little did I know this movie would be so impactful. And the last couple of months, me and my wife are able to enjoy the fruits of that. We get to go to Golden Globes and SAG Awards, and I got kicked out of the Oscars. Anyway, it was wonderful. It was great.
So when you were getting into that and becoming more of a recognized actor because of The Hangover and all of that, I was wondering what the climate was like for being an Asian American, getting casted in certain roles. It was difficult, and how that climate compares to now, because it seems like it's opening up to more Asian actors. How it was for you, if there was struggle.
Well, I can only speak of the field I work in now in entertainment. Sometimes the big urban myth is among Asian Americans. This is really for the Asian Americans in the room. Like, sometimes you get that mindset in America, there can only be one. You can only be one at a time in comedy, in drama, and to the victor goes the spoils. And that's not true. I've never subscribed to that. I do believe, though, 10 years ago, there was less Asian Americans kind of in the forefront and having had roles. I do think now, because of shows like Fresh Off the Boat and Crazy Rich Asians, and to a smaller extent my own show, there has been to me, an organic push to just show, we can all be inclusionary and we can have, better quality roles. Like this past pilot season, I was offered a number of pilots to be an actor in, and I chose the one that I thought was the most well-written, and that coincidentally happened to be the person who wrote Crazy Rich Asians. He's developing a TV show, and that was the pilot that I chose because the character was very subtle and nuanced, and even if it doesn't go to series, I was informed by that. So to me, to answer your question, I think it is getting better for Asian Americans in entertainment. We still have a long way to go. It's still hard, but you know what? I quote my dad. It's hard for everybody in entertainment. So I never pity myself. I never try to blame the system. I'm always like, we all uniquely here, every single one of us in this room, when we get older, we will all have challenges that are unique to us, and it's up to us to overcome those challenges, and we're here at a great school that we are equipped to do it in as honestly and as graceful a way as possible. We're all privileged people to be in a school like this. I wish I was in a school like this growing up, and to have even days like this, and I think that, and I see myself in a lot of you, not just because my kids are here, but I see myself in every single person here, and I honestly believe, if I can do this, every single person here at Viewpoint, can do what I do and even better, so, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering...
I was supposed to get applause there. I was trying to suck up. Nothing? Wow.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had any advice for students of color or people of color who want to go into the entertainment industry. Do you have any tips and tricks to make it?
I think in entertainment, it's all about aptitude. It's all about getting good in your craft, and I've always had this colorblind passion for acting and entertainment. It's not like I want to be the best Asian American under 5'4" who is male that weighs 137 pounds in Las Virgenes District, ever. I didn't want to give myself any qualifiers. So for me to be the best I could be, I wanted to, I literally, A, do I love what I do? And B, am I willing to put up with the flaws of any, and this is what I've learned in medicine. Whatever you love to do, if you're interested in more than one thing, this is the best piece of advice I got in med school. Find what are the perceived downsides of that profession, and which of the downsides of that you can put up with, that you can tolerate the most. That is actually will inform you of your choices. So to me, I always loved comedy, I always loved acting and performing. And the downsides is, well, it's tough. It's a business where it's predicated, sometimes, especially in acting more than comedy, it can be predicated on look and appearance and being at the right place at the right time. Are you willing to lose jobs because of that? Maybe I deserved a job and I lost it because of that. Am I willing to put up with that? Absolutely. Twice on Sunday. So I love acting and comedy so much. I don't have to be rich and famous to pursue what I love. And so I think, to me, universally, it's a passion. If you're an Asian American, yes, there will be fewer parts, sometimes seemingly more competitive among Asians for sometimes, it is a bit, like early on when I first started 20 years ago, it is depressing when you are auditioning for Asian Assassin number 8 and not getting it, So it happens, but that's okay. It's not, there's less and less Asian Assassin number 8s, Now I'm Asian Assassin number 2, and it's better. So there's a lot, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If you are truly passionate about what you do, and even cultural obstacles, to me, I always just plowed through it. If you ask anybody, Asian or not, who's worked with me in entertainment, I'm all about the work, and I pride myself on my professionalism, and I just do the absolute best that I can. In athletic terms, I'm a big NBA fan. I just dive for every loose ball, even when I didn't have to. I really got every rebound, and that's what it is. It's about, my talent is my hustle. My talent is my hustle.
Clapping
You know,
for you.
yeah, it's really about how I play defense, you know, yeah, comedically.
I agree. I think that applies to like any profession. Just
Yeah.
having that like raw passion to like enjoy what you do. It's really
But there
important.
is what I do, not to interrupt, but there is something that if one does get noticed and you are a person of color and you get, sometimes there are fair and unfair expectations of you as a minority to, okay, that you're championing everybody. I think that, you know, what I love about kind of Asian Americans in entertainment right now with Crazy Rich Asians, there's more than one. You know, I'm not like the top Asian comic working today. I'm not even the top 25. Like Aquafina is like my favorite comedian right now, period. She's just amazing, and she's like also a hip hop artist and a comedic actor. She's like my role model. She played my daughter in Crazy Rich Asians, and Randall Park, who's the father on Fresh Off the Boat, he's one of my best friends. He's like one of the funniest cats I've ever worked with. So I think the more people that you have, you know, in entertainment, there's going to be less marginalization, you know, by the mainstream. I think you just got to get more of us in there, and there's just a lot of talent, and there's a lot of wealth to spread around.
Yeah, I think that's a really good segue into my next question. So there's an overall increase of Asian American representation that's slowly making its way on screen with shows such as Fresh Off the Boat, Kim's Convenience Store, The Mindy Project, Dr. Ken, The Mindy Project, and prominent actors like Hassan Minaj, Margaret Cho, Constance Wu, Dev Patel, just a multitude. But as actors and creators whose jobs are to reach people through complex stories and characters, there is an unfairly large responsibility put on your shoulders to represent the entire Asian American community. This reality is unrealistic yet very prominent from various articles and opinions that certain Asian actors or comedians are tarnishing this somewhat expected image of what the community should look like. And I was wondering how you navigated this pressure.
I mean, you know, in life, whether one does entertainment or not, or one is in the public eye, you know, trolling is just pervasive. You know, you're always going to get trolled in life, and it's okay. You know, you just don't want to get trolled to the point where you feel like you're canceled. You know, I got this all from a millennial handbook.
Yes.
That's great. These terms. So really research these words right now. But like even in my and I'll clean it up. But even in my Netflix special, I even touch upon that. I used to say like sometimes the Asian trolls, there's a point like. You know, I got trolled really heavy, and they're like, "Yo, man, if someone wrote, and it was a true comment on Reddit, yo, if I ever see you on the street, man, you are going down. I hate you for every fiber you are worth," and that was my mom. Now, so there's the joke of the joke. You know what? I really do believe for purposes of this talk. Trolling just happens, and it's natural to have an instinct to troll other things. You know, the key is just to just like water off your back. Like today, just don't take any of that seriously, because you're gonna forget who trolled you in 2019, but you're gonna remember that art project where you got like. You know, where you got to show this at an exhibit your senior year in Thousand Oaks at this museum. You know, the trolls will go away like the rain, but the accomplishments that you have, despite any trolling, that will last forever. I will always remember Dr. Ken. I won't remember all the bad reviews I got. You know, it doesn't matter. It's okay, and it happens, and that's just a part of. I mean, one of my. Like a friend of mine who's a DJ, he's a bit older than me, but he said like I'm an old guy, and I I love Van Halen, like, you know, like his rock band, and he asked David Lee Roth, when did you find out when you were first famous? He goes, like, the moment I got hate mail. So to me, getting trolled is just a sign, in a weird way, a sign of success. So anyway.
recently, there have been many debates about whether the jokes comedians give are offensive or purely satirical and what the difference between them even is. For example, brilliant and successful comedians like Dave Chappelle have been criticized for jokes accused of reinforcing stereotypes about groups of people through exaggerations. But I believe the job of comedians is to give a message and to impact people through laughter, even when it can get dark sometimes. I believe that it is healthy for people to laugh about things when appropriate. So, as a comedian yourself, I was wondering when you would say someone is crossing the line, or if that line can even be defined.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great question, maybe my favorite question of the day. I mean, and this is more for the high schoolers than the middle schoolers. So Alexa and Zoe, earmuffs. And I did, to me, it's, and that's the big challenge right now that we all have. Like, what is satire and what is offensive? And I honestly believe that's up to you to decide, because I'm really of a different generation. You guys are molding this future. You guys will help determine in society what is satire, that line keeps changing and evolving, even in the 12 years I've been in the business. So to me, I look at it from a standpoint of, I, like, even the criticism that I've received, I'm always in my head, and you can ask people close to me, I'm always satirizing the stereotype. But I'll be the first to admit, I'm not always perfect. I don't always have the right answers. To me, as society changes, as we grow and evolve, I'm learning. And I'm learning that, like, things now, it's a different, 2019 is totally different from 2008 when I filmed The Hangover. So to me, that line ever evolves. And I think it's incumbent upon us, the older generation, to listen to the kids, to see what is satirical, what is offensive, and to stay, for lack of, I know that word is used a lot, but to stay at least woke-ish, to kind of like, I really think it's incumbent upon us to listen to you guys, what I think will shape that. So I think that line ever changes, And this is just a bit of inside baseball, this kind of nerdy. I'm just a comedy nerd that just loves comedy, and people like I love Dave Chappelle. I think, to me, he's Mozart, he's Prince, and is he perfect? No. Am I perfect? Far from it. This guy, to me, as a comedian, I tend to judge performers on their aptitude. Dave Chappelle, on his last Netflix special, it took me like a year to write an hour's worth of material, maybe a year and a half. It took Dave Chappelle. He can do things on stage. He did 10 days at the Comedy Store and wrote an hour's bit of comedy, and with incisive commentary, and was way more deep and diverse than I could ever do in a million years. So there's also this admiration I have for certain people, like Dave Chappelle, like Hassan Minaj, and even some, like, Sebastian Maniscalco is one of my good friends, and he's paid his dues. They're all amazing writers.
Yeah, I would say that the line is very subjective, because how people receive content, like stories or jokes, is all very personal.
Yeah.
And so we talked about that earlier, but
Yeah.
it is like something that's hard to define, and that's why it's really hard to have conversations about these, because people have different standards for what is offensive and what isn't. I
mean, and not to get too boring with my comedy nerddom, is that when in Dr. Ken, I was one of the writers, and we would have debates about, if we did a joke based on orientation, is this a microaggression? Is this something that's offensive? And I've learned, and through the writer's room, I've learned all these nuances. It's really more for the high school kids, but learning these nuances and having debates it's important, and it's okay to agree to disagree. We're all figuring this out as we go along, So I really think if we have a society, and you guys are shaping that, where we can have just really cool, civilized debate, agreeing to disagree, I feel like that's the true progress, and I feel like that's what, and not to suck up the Viewpoint at all, but this is why I sent my kids to Viewpoint, to have this platform where ultimately you guys are intelligent enough to agree to disagree, and I think this is what this will prepare us for.
to wrap up my short list of questions, I would like to talk about Asian representation a little bit more, since the theme of today is representation.
Yes.
We are what we see. I would say that the success of Crazy Rich Asians is a giant step for the Asian American community, but that also we have so much further to go. It is easy to discuss the impact that this movie has made among my East Asian friends, but I think it is important to expand the conversation and listen to the frustrations from Southeast and South Asians who feel like they were underrepresented in the movie. My response to that is I hope that in the future, more stories in general made by Asian American creators are put out there so that all groups within the community have someone that looks like them to look up to. But I can't help but wonder, what does healthy and empowering Asian American representation look like in your eyes, and why does representation matter?
I mean, and this is a very nuanced point that I think Kristen is really brilliantly picking up. Even among the Asian community with Crazy Rich Asians, there was always debate about representation, even among Asians, because I'm of Korean descent, and I'm not from Singapore, and the movie was based in Singapore. I think, to answer your question, I just think we need more Asian American filmmakers, more Asian American movies at the forefront. Crazy Rich Asians, in my worldview, and the director of Crazy Rich Asians, Jeong, who also, we're really good friends, and he directed my Netflix special. We've always been, we want this movie to introduce other, movies that with people of color, with Asian Americans at the forefront. And we're not the only movie. We Crazy Rich Asians, we don't represent every single person, even in the Asian community.
You guys shouldn't.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
And it's okay. And it's okay and it's also okay, especially among you guys, to bring that up, because that will help Hollywood bring out more diverse filmmaking. So I just think if people speak up, in a constructive way, I think, voices will be heard by the establishment. Yeah.
And so why is representation important? What is
because
it?
If I never saw a person like me on TV when I was a kid, and especially, and I now being the father of 2 daughters, if they can see, especially in Crazy Rich Asians, Asian American female characters very strongly written and strongly performed by Awkwafina, Constance Wu, Michelle Yeoh, Gemma Chan. To me, to have that kind of representation, it matters. It matters to that child or individual watching themselves on the screen. And I have nothing to do with that. And even in my own household, having only women in our household is I think about my future more than myself, for representation on projects. I have a very privileged life. I get to do, I've achieved my dreams and then beyond, so even if my career ended right now, I'm so beyond grateful, to what I have. So what I do now, I really think more about my family and what, and then I think of other people's families, and I think of, what matters to them. There's stuff that I don't know about. There's stuff that I'm ignorant about that I want to educate myself of what matters. And so I think having, strong, and by the way, thank you guys for coming out today. This is really on a big rain. I really appreciate this. I applaud Viewpoint for doing things like this, and it's just really cool and dope. It's really cool and dope, and I looked up that word today.
Cool and dope.
Yeah.
I admire your choice of words.
Thank you.
That's all my questions.
No, thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, thank Kristen. She's amazing. She did a great job. These are all her questions. Give her a lot of credit.
You can check your phone right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
How much time do we have to do? So we could do Q&A session. Really?
Now, is this the part I sing like the Red Hot Chili Peppers like they did in October?
Yeah, go sing it.
Okay, guys.
Okay, we have time.
I can't
for
sing
two
or dance or
questions.
play instruments, but okay.
You should do all. Okay. We have time for 2 questions. So, does anyone have a question that they want to ask? All right. Oh, no, why do I have to choose? Okay. Yes, you do. I just figured it out.
What's your best joke?
Sophia, is that Sophia? I can't tell that joke right now, like in this room, guys. I can't. And you're not gonna get me on that, all right? Let's just focus on today.
Like when you're developing your characters, is there like practice you go to like after your work? Like I heard for Mr. Chow and stuff, you were like doing stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that's a great question. No, I actually, a lot of people don't know this. I didn't have a lot of formal acting training in college, and I don't think I've ever talked about this publicly. There was an acting coach that I would use to help me with auditions, just to help me with kind of the basic techniques of acting. So early on in my career, I basically was always envious of people who were theater trained in high school and college. I always had a complex, like I wasn't good enough. So to me, so I did have like a teacher that would help me with some of the characters that I played, even including Mr. Chow, which is such a silly, crazy character. But I actually had some coaching and some help. So yeah.
Hi, I just have one question. Do you think like race should be like written into scripts where it's not integral to the character?
No, that's great. That's that's such a great nuanced question. I'll just only speak about what I know. Like I've done parts like, I'm just trying to reference my own work. There's a movie I did like 10 years ago called Role Models, and that was one of my favorite movies where I played the king, and it was very of this live action role play, and that was written for a 50-year-old white man, you know, but Paul Rudd, the star of the movie, I'd worked with him on Knocked Up, and he saw my performance was so good, he wanted to have a different take on it. So it was the first time I ever got offered a job, and it wasn't written specifically for an Asian American. Like where you watch Community with Senior Jeong, that was actually written, thank you for, still like my favorite. I would have to say Community, it's a plug for, that may be my favorite, one of my favorite things academically in terms of writing, maybe my favorite thing I've ever done, because that's the thing my kids and I and Tran, my wife, we love watching on reruns, even if stuff I'm not in. But Community, Dan Harmon, the writer, wrote that part, Senior Jeong, with me in mind as a kind of a crazy but well-meaning, you know, but still crazy Asian American. So I like the diversity of both. I like a little bit of both, to be honest. I like where if race and culture is written in, and I also like doing stuff because I just like doing stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you guys very much. Very much. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Wow. Oh my. Are you guys standing or can't wait to go to class? Wow. Thank you. Thank you guys so much.